I spiked the wine with a truth serum I'd brewed in my basement lab, watching as the crystal glasses clinked like fragile bones under the chandelier's glare. My fiancé's mother, Evelyn Hargrove, took the first sip, her Botox-smooth lips curling into that perpetual half-smile of superiority, oblivious to the invisible noose tightening around her family's legacy. And just like that, with one calculated pour, I turned their empire of lies into a confessional slaughterhouse, starting with the secret they'd buried me under 20 years ago. It was supposed to be a simple engagement dinner, the kind where old money toasts to new conquests in a penthouse overlooking Central Park. But for me, Vivian Reyes, it was the opening salvo in a war I'd been plotting since I was 16, when the Hargroves' greed swallowed my father's life and pinned his crimes on a scared kid who trusted them like family. I'd risen from the ashes they left me in foster homes, dead-end jobs, a PhD in pharmaceutical chemistry clawed from night classes at CUNY, but tonight, under the guise of a broke barista from Queens, I'd make them choke on every dollar they'd stolen. The serum wasn't some Hollywood poison, it was my masterpiece. A neuroenhancer I'd patented under a ghost name, designed to strip away inhibitions like peeling back onion skin. No harm, no foul, just raw, unfiltered truth spilling out like the overpriced Cabernet they served. I'd tested it on rats, then on myself in the mirror, forcing confessions I'd long buried, the abortion at 17, the forged transcript that got me into college, the nights I cried over Dad's empty grave. But this was for him. For the man they'd framed as an embezzler when it was their offshore accounts bleeding the company dry. I arrived early, as instructed, in a thrift store shift dress that hung loose on my frame, nothing flashy, just the faded cotton of someone scraping by on tips and ramen. My hair pulled back in a no-nonsense ponytail, minimal makeup, the kind of look that screams harmless immigrant stock to people like the Hargroves. They'd vetted me. Of course, Ethan's due diligence after we met at that rooftop bar in Soho, where I'd accidentally spilled his drink and laughed it off with a Queen's accent thick as fog. He thought it was cute, the working-class girl with fire in her eyes. Little did he know, that fire was forged in the furnace of their sins. The doorman buzzed me up to the 52nd floor, the elevator ride a slow ascent into hell's antechamber. When the doors parted, there was Evelyn, all pearls and pantsuit, appraising me like a knockoff handbag. Vivian, darling, she cooed, air-kissing my cheeks without touching skin. Ethan said you'd be modest.
Come.
Meet the family. The penthouse was a monument to excess, marble floors veined like cracked ice, walls lined with Hockney prints that probably cost more than my childhood home in the Bronx. The dining room tables stretched like a battlefield, set for 12 with silver that gleamed under recessed lights. Ethan's father, Reginald Hargrove, Reg to his golf buddies. The hammer on Wall Street, held court at the head, his silver mane impeccable, eyes sharp as a scalpel. Beside him, his brother Harlan, the slimy VP who'd signed off on the audits that buried Dad. Then the cousins, the aunts, a smattering of trust fund 20-somethings scrolling their phones, all orbiting the patriarch like planets in a toxic solar system. Ethan pulled out my chair, his hand lingering on my shoulder, a touch that once sent sparks through me, back when I believed his charm was genuine. You look beautiful, Vi, he whispered, but his eyes flicked to his mother's approving nod. Beautiful, but not threatening. Not yet. Small talk flowed like the appetizers, seared scallops on microgreens, caviar that tasted like salty regret. I played my part, the wide-eyed fiancé, gushing over the view, fumbling my napkin to hide calloused hands from years of double shifts. "It's like a movie up here," I said, forcing a blush. Back in Queens, our view was the expressway. Laughter rippled, polite and patronizing. Evelyn leaned in, her voice a velvet blade. "Oh, honey, we'll get you out of that shoebox soon enough. Ethan's already talking condos in Tribeca." She winked, as if poverty were a phase, like braces or a bad perm. Reginald boomed from the head, raising his glass. "To new beginnings, and to Vivian, welcome to the family. May you thrive as we have." The toast echoed, glasses chiming, and that's when I made my move. As the sommelier circled, some French import named Pierre, I intercepted the decanter, my clumsy fingers brushing his. "Let me help," I murmured, palming the vial from my garter, a sleight of hand from too many magic kits in foster care. A few drops per glass, stirred with a spoon that doubled as a swizzle stick. Colorless, odorless, unstoppable. The main course arrived, rack of lamb. Rare and bleeding metaphorically, if not literally. Forks scraped porcelain as the serum kicked in, a subtle warmth blooming in cheeks, pupils dilating like black holes. Ethan squeezed my knee under the table, oblivious. "Nervous?" he asked. "Not anymore," I replied, sipping my own untouched wine, placebo for the actress. "It started with Harlan, the weasel uncle." Mid-bite. He paused, fork hovering, then blurted, "God, Reg, remember that Puerto Rican accountant you framed? The one with the kid? We laughed about it for years. Reyes the Rat, we called him. But it was your Cayman slush fund that tanked the merger." Silence crashed like a drop tray. Reginald's face purpled, but before he could sputter, Evelyn chimed in, her voice unnaturally bright. "Harlan, you idiot. Vivian doesn't need to hear about ancient history. Though, darling, your father was no saint. He skimmed enough to buy that little bodega in the Bronx. We just..." Accelerated his exit. My heart hammered, but I kept my eyes down, feigning shock, the poor girl caught in crossfire. Inside, vindication burned like whiskey. Dad hadn't stolen a dime. He discovered their Ponzi scheme, the one that bilked pensioners out of millions. I'd taken the fall at 16, forged signatures in my name, a juvie record that killed my scholarships because I lied to protect him, thinking the Hargroves would help. Instead, they shipped him to a rehab in Jersey that was really a psych ward, where he overdosed on the pills they slipped him. "Suicide," the coroner said. Convenient. Ethan's face drained of color. "Mom? Dad? What the hell are you talking about?" The serum rippled outward, truths erupting like geysers. Cousin Lila, the Instagram influencer with Daddy's Amex, confessed to sleeping with the family lawyer for a bigger trust payout. Uncle Harlan admitted to insider trading that nearly crashed their hedge fund in '08, blaming it on market forces while golfing with senators. Even the au pair, Maria, hired post-me to watch their grandkids, spilled that she'd been skimming cash for her own green card scam. With Evelyn's wink. Reginald slammed his fist, veins bulging. "Enough. This winds off, Pierre. You're fired." But his bluster cracked as the drug dug deeper. "Fine," he growled, eyes locking on me for the first time, really seeing. "You want the truth. Girl, your father was collateral. Business is war. And he picked the wrong side. I built this empire on harder choices than framing a deadbeat." Deadbeat. Ethan's voice cracked. You mean the man who raised her? The one you called a thief in the papers. I lifted my head then, letting the accent slip, my voice steady as steel. He wasn't a thief,
Ethan.
he was a whistleblower. And I was the scapegoat. 16 years old. Signing confessions because your family promised leniency if I played along. They broke me, then buried him.
Tonight?
This is me digging up the bones. Gasps circled the table. Evelyn's pearls clutched like a lifeline. Who are you? Really? Some gold digger with a grudge. The room spun into chaos, accusations flying. Chairs scraping as Harlan bolted for the door, only to double over confessing to a hit-and-run in the Hamptons. Ethan grabbed my arm, his grip bruising.
Vi.
Tell me this isn't. But it was. And as the truths piled like indictments, I felt the weight lift, the revenge uncoiling sweet and sharp. This was just the appetizer. The real feast? Watching their world crumble, brick by damning brick. The penthouse air thickened with a stench of unraveling alibis, the Hargrove dynasty fracturing under the serum's merciless glare. Ethan released my arm, staggering back as if I'd slapped him, his blue blood world view cracking like the fine china his mother favored. You lied to me, he whispered, betrayal etching lines on his boyish face. The bar, the stories about your dead-end job, all of it. I met his eyes, the ones I'd once drowned in during stolen weekends in his Brooklyn loft, whispering dreams of a life beyond their shadows. Lies?
Pot. Kettle.
Sweetheart. Your family built their fortune on them. I just borrowed the blueprint. Reginald lurched to his feet, face apoplectic, jabbing a finger at Pierre the sommelier, who was frozen mid-pour, confessing to watering down vintages for years. This is sabotage. Call security, now. But Aunt Clarissa, the dowdy widow with a penchant for Xanax, piped up unbidden. Sabotage? Like when you secured that waterfront deal in Red Hook by bribing the zoning board. I saw the envelopes.
Reg.
Thousands in cash, stuffed in diaper bags. The table erupted, forks clattering, a crystal goblet shattering as Lila hurled it, screaming, "You hypocrite! You cut me off last year because I embarrassed you at the gala. But you were the one snorting lines off the caterer's tray." Her words hung, venomous and vivid, painting Reginald not as Titan, but as tarnished relic. I slipped into the kitchen under the din, heart pounding with a mix of euphoria and nausea. The serum's half-life was 45 minutes, enough time to sow the field before the harvest. My phone buzzed in my purse, a text from my lawyer contact, a pro bono firebrand from the Bronx legal aid who'd owed me a favor since I ghost wrote her opioid litigation brief. SEC tip line primed. Hit send when ready. Attached. Dossiers. Wire transfers. The digital grave I'd exhumed over 2 years of sleepless nights, cross-referencing public records with dark web leaks. Back in the dining room, Evelyn had commandeered the scene, her socialite poise weaponized into damage control. Everyone,
Breathe.
this is the wine, some bad batch. Harlan, call DR. Weiss, he owes us. But Harlan was on his knees, retching truths. The Weiss merger? I faked the due diligence. Embezzled $2 million to cover my gambling debts in Atlantic City. Your precious doctor? He's on payroll to certify the suicides, like that whistleblower in accounting last year. Ethan rounded on his father, voice raw. Is any of this true? Dad, the accountant? Vivian's dad. Reginald's laugh was a bark, hollow and hateful.
Boy.
Wake up. In this game, You don't win by playing fair. Reyes found the shell companies. Threatened to go to the feds. We couldn't have that, not with the IPO looming. So yeah, I pinned it on him. The kid? Bonus leverage. She folded like cheap suit when we dangled juvie over her head. I stepped forward then. The room's eyes snapping to me like spotlights. Time to twist the knife. Folded? You mean when your PI cornered me in the school parking lot? Waving photos of Dad confessing on tape? The one you doctored with deepfake tech before it was even a thing? I was a kid.
Reg.
16. Watching my father get carted off because I trusted your deal. He didn't kill himself, he fought. Until your goons made sure he couldn't. Evelyn's facade splintered. Mascara streaking as suppressed sobs escaped. Under the serum's thrall. She confessed the part I dreaded most. I suggested it. The pills in his jello. Mercy, I called it. He was ranting about audits. Ruining everything. Vivian. I thought you'd forget. We sent checks to the foster system.
It
was supposed to end clean. The words landed like punches. But I was armored now, scar tissue from years of therapy sessions in church basements, support groups for injustice survivors. Ethan's face crumpled, torn between love and legacy.
Mom.
How could you? Because survival demands it. Son, Reginald snarled, rallying his troops with a patriarch's glare. This city's a jungle. Eat or be eaten. Reyes was weak, we thrived. Weak, Dad had been the spine of their midtown firm, crunching numbers while they schmoozed donors at Met Galas. He taught me chess on stoop steps. Warning. Pawns topple kings if they play smart.
Tonight.
I was the queen. Gliding across the board.
Cousin Theo.
The Wall Street bro with a Rolex that screamed compensation. Lunged at me. Serum-fueled rage twisting his frat boy features. You bitch. This is your doing.
Admit it.
His hands clamped my shoulders, shaking me like a maraca. But Ethan shoved him back. A rare flash of spine. Touch her again. And you're out. The scuffle bought me seconds. I hit send on the phone. Dossiers flooding the SEC's inbox. Tagged with keywords, fraud, embezzlement, witness tampering. Simultaneously, a cron job I'd scripted in Python, nights hunched over a secondhand laptop, began live-tweeting anonymized snippets to Hargrove Heist, the hashtag I'd seeded on Reddit months ago. By morning, it had trended from TikTok to CNBC. Chaos crested as sirens wailed faintly below. Someone had dialed 911, mistaking Harlan's confessions for a heart attack. Security burst in, tasers drawn, only to hesitate as Evelyn wailed, "She's poisonous. That waitress. Arrest her." But I was no waitress. Slipping Ethan's grasp, I backed toward the terrace doors, the city sprawl a glittering accomplice. Poison?
Not.
Just truth. The kind your family dosed my life with. To Ethan, softer. I loved you or thought I did. But love built on lies? It's quicksand. He reached.
Pleading. Vi.
Wait, we can fix this.
Marry me anyway.
I'll make it right. A controversial choice flickered. Stay. Play the long game from inside. Or burn it all now. My gut twisted. His touch still lingered. A ghost of what-ifs. But Dad's voice echoed. Smart. Vivi. Always smart. I chose fire. The doors whooshed open to the balcony. Wind whipping my dress like a flag of surrender. Below, cop cars screeched into the plaza, lights pulsing blue-red. Tell them I said goodnight. I called. then vaulted the railing, not to jump, but to the fire escape I'd scouted via Google Earth. A rusted ladder snaking down the facade. Hand over hand, heart in throat, I descended into the night, the Hargroves' shouts fading above. At street level, I melted into the crowd cab to Penn Station, then a sleeper train to Chicago under an alias. Revenge tasted like freedom, bitter and bright. But as the rails clicked rhythmically, doubt crept. Had I become them? Scheming, vengeful, blind to collateral? Ethan's last text buzzed. Why? I deleted it, but the question lodged like shrapnel. The war wasn't over, just intermission. Chicago welcomed me like an old lover, gritty, unpretentious. The Windy City's howl drowning out the echoes of that penthouse pandemonium. I holed up in a Wicker Park walk-up, sublet from a barista buddy who'd owed me for covering her shifts during her art sabbatical. Cash under the table. No questions, that's the rhythm of reinvention in America, where one zip code scandal is another's footnote. The news hit like a monsoon. Hargrove empire implodes, family dinner turns confessional nightmare. Clips looped on my burner phone, grainy bodycam footage of cops hauling Harlan out in cuffs. Evelyn catatonic on a stretcher. Reginald bellowing about lawsuits from the back of a squad car. The SEC raid followed at dawn. Agents in windbreakers swarming Hargrove Capital's glass tower on Park Avenue. Cuffing execs mid-coffee run. Hargrove heist trended for 72 hours straight. Memes of Evelyn's tear-streaked face captioned, "When Karens meet karma." Ethan called a dozen times. Voicemails cracking with pleas. Vi, they're saying you drugged us. It's everywhere. Dads lawyered up, blaming some corporate spy. Come back. I can protect you. Protect me? The boy who'd proposed with a family heirloom ring, mined from blood diamonds in Sierra Leone. I'd uncovered that gem in my research. Another layer of their rot. I ghosted him, blocking the number. But sleep evaded me, haunted by his eyes. That split-second choice on the balcony, him or the fall. My own flip came unbidden. In the serum's afterglow, I'd felt righteous, a vigilante in thrift store armor. But scrolling X in the dead of night, the backlash stung. Feminazi revenge porn from MAGA trolls, class warfare cosplay from blue-check liberals who'd profited from Hargrove PAC donations. Pundits on Fox debated my methods. Was I hero or homewrecker? CNN ran psych profiles. Trauma-fueled delusion or calculated takedown? No one mentioned Dad's name without qualifiers. Alleged whistleblower, as if 20 years of gaslighting could be asterisked away. Worse were the DMs, tips from insiders, confessions from the fringes. A former Hargrove intern, ghosted after whistleblowing on harassment. Sent docs. Evelyn's emails plotting my father's relocation, coded as asset disposal. Harlan's mistress, a Jersey girl with a grudge. Leaked voicemails of him laughing about the Reyes kids' tears. It piled on, fuel for the fire I'd lit. But each revelation chipped at my armor. Revenge wasn't cathartic, it was corrosive, turning Avenger into addict. I needed an exit strategy. My PhD landed me a gig at a Northside pharma startup, legit work synthesizing antidepressants. Ironic given my cocktail of Ambien and black coffee. Days blurred. Lab coats.
Pipettes.
The sterile hum of centrifuges masking the storm inside.
Nights.
I troll dark forums, seeding doubts about Hargrove's rehab partners, shell core linked to opioid mills. The same veins pumping fentanyl into Bronx streets like mine. Ethan found me on week 4. Showing up at my lab like a bad sequel, tailored coat dusted with airport grime. Eyes hollowed by scandal. Security buzzed him in. I hadn't changed my name yet. Vivian, he said. Voice low in the lobby's fluorescent buzz. We need to talk. Against better judgment. Or was it the serum's ghost? Craving one last truth, I led him to a corner cafe. The kind with mismatched mugs and folk playlists. He slid a folder across the formica. Plea deals. NDAs. A check with too many zeros. Dad's offering. Full exoneration for your father, posthumous. In the records. And for you, the ring, the life. Marry me.
Vi.
We exposed the rot together. From inside. Temptation slithered in. Controversial as sin. Inside, I'd be Trojan horse. Whispering leaks to reporters while sipping mimosas at brunch. But the folder's fine print. Gag clauses. Therapy mandates, Hargrove strings. Puppeteering my justice. Together? I echoed. Sipping burnt coffee. Like how you forgot to mention your family's philanthropy funded by pension raids. Or the weekend in the Hamptons when Harlan bragged about cleaning up loose ends. He flinched, but pressed. I didn't know. Not all of it. But I know you, the girl who quoted Audre Lorde at 3 a.m., who made me question everything. This serum? Genius. Yeah. But it gutted us. Mom's in rehab for real this time. Dad's facing 10 years. Let me make it right. The cafe's chatter faded. Our table an island of what-ifs. I could flip again, embrace the villainous role, wed into the beast to gnaw from within. Readers would split, romantic redemption or cynical sellout. My pulse raced, his hand brushed mine, electric as memory. But Dad's ghost loomed. Stoop chess wisdom. Pawns don't wed kings. Vivi, they checkmate. I pulled away. Right? Like rewriting history with a checkbook?
No.
Ethan. Your family's sins aren't mine to forgive. He stood.
Defeated.
Then you're no better, destroying lives for a ghost. The door chime swallowed him, leaving me with the folder's weight. Back at the lab, I shredded it, but his words festered. Was I destroying or exhuming? The climax brewed in a deposition room downtown, 6 months post-dinner. Hargrove Capital's bankruptcy hearing, me as star witness. Subpoenaed under my real name after an SEC mole ID'd the leak. The room reeked of stale suits and desperation. Reginald in orange jumpsuit. Cuffed to the table, Evelyn absent. Indisposed. Ethan in the gallery. Gaze pleading. My testimony spilled like the serum. Timelines. Ledgers. The PI's affidavit I'd bribed from a crooked ex-cop. They framed Joseph Reyes for their fraud, I stated. Voice steady under fluorescence. I bore the brunt, a minor coerced into perjury. This wasn't business, it was butchery. Reginald's lawyer objected. Hearsay. But the judge, a no-nonsense Latina from the South Bronx, overruled. Then the twist, Ethan's turn on the stand. He rose, folder in hand, not the bribe, but my own buried secret. Your Honor, Emis. Reyes omitted a key fact. He faced me, eyes steel. Vivian didn't just take the fall for her father. She helped forge the initial skim, $50K from petty cash. At 16. Dad's PI found the bank stubs. She was complicit. Gasps rippled, flashbulbs popped. Complicit? The room spun. I confessed it to Ethan once. Drunk on cheap Merlot. The night he proposed, teenage desperation. Forging Dad's signature on a loan to cover rent. Twisted by Hargrove audits into embezzlement. I trusted him with my shame, thinking absolution lay in his arms.
Now.
He wielded it like a blade, flipping sides in a heartbeat. I love her, he told a court, voice breaking. But justice demands truth, all of it. Controversial genius, martyring himself to gut-punch my crusade, forcing the hero label onto me hollow. The gallery murmured, split down aisles. She's a fraud, from Hargrove loyalists. He's covering for her, from my Reddit brigade. I locked eyes with him. Betrayal of fresh wound. No one right. No one wrong, just survivors clawing in the Colosseum. As the gavel cracked recess, Reginald smirked from his chains. Told you.
Boy.
Eat or be eaten. I bolted to the courthouse steps. Rain sheeting down. Sirens wailing in the distance. Ethan's gambit? It diluted the charges, mutual fraud. Lesser sentences, but shattered us irreparably. Hero or villain? The debate raged online. Petitions for my pardon clashing with calls for perjury probes. In the downpour, I chose flight again, O'Hare to Seattle. A fresh alias. A biotech firm scouting talent. Revenge's aftertaste? Ash and ambiguity. But as the plane banked west, a final text from Ethan. Forgive me. Or don't. Just live. I deleted it, but smiled faintly. Checkmate? Or stalemate eternal? Seattle's drizzle was a bomb. Soft as absolution. Wrapping the Emerald City's tech sprawl in perpetual gray. I landed at a startup in Belltown Neuroscience Wing. Ironically, crafting nootropics for enhanced cognition, the kind that could have saved Dad from those ward fogs. New name, Vivian Reed. Hyphenated homage. Resume scrubbed of Bronx grit. Days dissolved in code and compounds. Nights in dive bars nursing IPAs. Eavesdropping on venture bros who echoed Hargrove hubris. Disrupt or die. The trial's fallout simmered like bad chatter. Reginald copped a plea, 5 years at Otisville. White-collar country club with golf on weekends. Evelyn retreated to a wellness retreat in Sedona, peddling memoirs of redemption to Oprah wannabes. Harlan, 6 months for the hit and run. Out on appeal. Hawking insider tips on Substack. The cousins scattered. Lila to OnlyFans reinvention. Theo to crypto grifts in Miami. Ethan vanished from headlines, but not my periphery. Whispers from legal circles. He'd liquidated his trust. Funding a victims fund for Hargrove whistleblowers. Ironic largesse from tainted gold. Our mutual fraud angle? It humanized me in editorials. The girl who fought back. Flaws and all. Sparking TED Talks I dodged. Book deals I burned. The twist? It split the narrative wide. Forums erupted. Team Ethan, love conquers grudges versus Team Vivi, snitch deserves the ditch. No victors. Just endless threads dissecting our souls like lab rats. I flipped coasts for distance, but ghosts followed. In a Fremont coffee shop, scrolling X over oat milk lattes, a viral thread caught me, Ethan's anonymous post. A pixelated photo of that balcony leap, me mid-vault, dress billowing like wings. Caption: she jumped for justice. I fell for her. Who's the real villain? Replies cascaded. 50K likes for romantic AF, flame wars with manipulative prick, betrayed her twice. Controversy clung like damp wool. My serum? Bootleg versions flooded black markets. Truth tonic raves turning frat parties into Freudian free-for-alls. Lawsuits named me phantom defendant. I countersued under pseudonyms. Funneling settlements to Bronx Youth Legal Aid. Dad's grave got a headstone granite simple. Engraved truth teller. Paid for my first bonus. Weeds cleared by volunteers who'd seen the docudrama. One drizzly April Eve. 6 months into exile. Ethan materialized at my door, knock soft as Seattle rain. face gaunt under fairy worker beard. Vivian, he said. No read. Eyes tracing my unscarred features. Or is it still Vi? I should have slammed it. Protocol for X's turned exposés. But the draft carried a scent, bergamot and regret, pulling me onto the stoop. We walked the waterfront, fairies hooting like mournful geese, Space Needle winking in the mist. Why here? I asked, hands jammed in hoodie pockets. Chasing ghosts, he admitted. After the trial, I audited everything, our ledgers, my heart. Found your notes in my loft, the serum recipe, scrawled on a napkin from our first date. You planned it from the start, guilt-twisted, but truth-freer now. Not the start. The bar was real, spilled drink, shared laugh. But yeah, I profiled you, the soft spot in the snake pit. Revenge needed an in. He nodded. No accusation. And the flip, testifying against you. Your controversial masterpiece, I said, half smile sharp. Gutted my case. Saved your dad's ass. Made me the villain with a rap sheet. Smart, ruthless. Even. Worth it, he murmured, stopping by the sculpture park. Rusted steel giants looming. Because it freed you. No more pretending. And me? I torched the rest. Funds real.
Nostrines.
Even reached out to your old foster siblings. Scholarships in Joseph's name. Wind whipped. Carrying Puget Sound's brine. His hand hovered near mine. Electric. Unresolved. The choice loomed again. Reconcile. Co-author a messy redemption arc. Or sever clean. Readers would riot. Happily ever after in hell? Or biopic bait. Lovers to litigants? I took his hand. Controversial as dawn. What now?
Now?
We write the ending. Together or not. But no more secrets. We kissed then. Tentative as spring. The city exhaling around us. Not fairy tale. America doesn't do those. More like a truce in trench warfare, scarred. Skeptical. But standing. Dad's voice whispered approval. Smart. Vivi. Always. Back in the walk-up. Tangled sheets and half-confessions. The twist landed via certified mail, a thumb drive from Harlan. Escaped to Costa Rica on a yacht. Footage, grainy cam from the ward. Dad not overdosing but fighting orderlies. Evelyn's voice off screen. Finish it. Undeniable. Ethan's eyes hardened over playback. One more flip. We leaked it, anonymous. Viral. Hargrove 2.0. Evelyn's arrest at the airport. Paparazzi frenzy. The fun swelled. My startup boomed on ethical enhancer buzz. But the real win? Waking to Ethan's breath steady beside me. No empires between us. Revenge's end? Not ashes. But embers warm. Watchful. In this land of second acts, we'd penned ours. Flawed. Fierce. Forever debating the cost. Who's right? Who's wrong? Pull up a chair. The argument's just begun.